So the next servant that's going to be returning for the whole big raid-up over here on the NA version of the game is going to be Summer BB, which is a very interesting servant because she's not an insane farming unit yet, but she does get a buff about next year for us over here on NA that does actually make her pretty decent when it comes to farming. They beef up her damage just enough to where she's actually pretty good if you want to use her as kind of like a neutral farmer, but one of the main purposes of just using Summer BB is her third skill because it locks your cards for a rotation, which can let you do all sorts of different goofy things. Although I guess the main reason for using Summer BB is that it's BB, and come on, we all love our Sakura faces around here, and who doesn't like BB? But before we begin, if you've not already, make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel for that daily FGO content. Even though I'm out here on vacation, still on that daily content grind, because you know, I'm just that committed to bringing the people the content. But with all that being said, let's start moving into BB, starting off with her hits, which she is a Buster servant, so I love that they went ahead and gave her double Buster cards. That way with her NP she can Buster Brave Chain for a nice big damaging turn. Although they also did do the thing that I do like them doing with Buster servants, is giving them double arts cards. Even though she does, spoiler alert, have a massive 50% battery, I do still like giving these Buster servants the double arts card because it just makes them that much easier to use in more difficult content, where if you want to fire your cards to try to get some NP refund, it makes it just a little bit easier to do, especially when you have nice arts cards that have 3 hits on them with 0.61% NP gain and are being backed up by a passive 10% arts buff that is going to buff the NP gain of said arts cards. So she can actually get some pretty decent NP refund back on those arts cards if you're going to use her, well, for more difficult content, which because of her third skill you should be able to do if you just want to do that. Although again, the locking card thing can also be used to kind of make some other servants shine if you don't want to use BB, but if you want to use her, the option exists there. But let's start talking about some of the skills, and I'm actually going to start off with the first skill, but the buffed version, because I feel like it's better to show off that this is what she's going to be getting when we get the Seraph kind of Holy Grail front thing next year, which we, should be getting, unless Losango wants to speed up the schedule and drop it later on this year for some random reason. But when they drop that, they actually go ahead and they buff not only the free-to-play BB, but this one over here, and this is what the skill actually looks like. So already you have the really good, basically Jolter crit damage skill, right? The 50% crit damage and a decent star rate, although Jolter needed a little bit more because, well, she's an Avenger. Bottom line, it's still a pretty good crit skill, right? You'll be able to do some pretty nice crits with this, but they added more to it. So they gave her an attack buff that's 30%, which is very, very sizable for 3 turns, and, of course, a 5-turn cooldown. And then they also gave her an on-attack buff. This is really good. It synergizes really well with her third skill because it pretty much is really good for Brave Chains, right? Which is what you want to set up with BB Summer's third skills. You want to set up basically locking down that you can do one servant's Brave Chains guaranteed every single turn. And so this guarantees that every time she attacks with the extra attack, appealing to me probably, she bombs 20 stars, which is really, really nice because then it goes into the next turn to help her crits do really good damage. And spoiler alert, she also drops stars every turn on her third skill. So if you want to use her as a good, consistent crit servant, she is really, really good at doing that. And that's just the first skill. That's after they buff it. Now, if you are just going to use her right now, she can still be used as a decent enough crit servant, but it does get a lot better after it gets buffed in, again, about a year's time. Her second skill, this just has a whole smorgasbord of good effects, and they all multiply really well with her first skill after it gets buffed, because this allows her to triple buff herself. And if you don't know, multiplicative buffs are pretty much the name of the game over here on FGO. But first and foremost, it's a 50% battery. We love to see that because that allows her to do some busty farming, which is very nice post-buff because she can actually do some pretty good damage. Pre-buff, her damage isn't the best, but post-buff, it definitely gets a lot better. She gives herself a little bit of a 3k heal, which I suppose is nice, but then, she gives herself the 20% Buster buff and the 50% NP damage buff, and if you are seeing that and you're hearing Buster farming, your eyes should be seeing dollar signs because that's something that Oberon absolutely loves. A huge 50% damage buff. His third skill is going to go absolutely ham Taro when this servant gets her buff, because then she'll be doing extraordinary damage, and again, neutrally because she's a moon cancer. And then I guess she also gives herself 1 hit of evasion that lasts for 3 turns. I guess you could use that as emergency survivability, but let's be honest, they're going to be using this to fire her NP because of that 50% battery and as a damage steroid because of the Buster and the NP damage. Finally, there's her third skill. This is where things actually start to get a little bit interesting, especially essentially post buff because of how they interact together. So if you don't know what I've been talking about this entire video, basically whenever you go into a fight, you know, think of when you're just starting to play FGO, and I'm going to explain this for more newer players, but you know, you go in and maybe you have like 2 Buster cards for BB, 1 Arts card, and then let's say you have like 2 Merlin cards, 1 from your support and 1 that's just yours, right? If you click this third skill, you will get those cards every single turn for the next 3 turns, essentially guaranteeing that you could just do Brave Chains with BB for those 3 turns. And because she's going to be doing Brave Chains, her first skill is going to allow her to drop 20 stars, and then this skill is going to give her 10 stars, so functionally, she's going to make 30 stars per turn. Technically 32 because she also drops 2 on her passive, and then doing the Brave Chain, you know, if you're able to get the quick card in there, you could pretty easily guarantee 50 stars per turn, or God forbid you have 2 Maxima Broken 2030s, or I guess just 1 because your friend Merlin can have one. If you do that at that point, you are guaranteed dropping 50 stars a turn, meaning that all of your cards are guaranteed to crit, and you can do very, very strong crit turns. That's why it's really, really nice. But it's not just for BB. One of the famous examples I always give for Summer BB being very good is the last fight in Lost Belt 4, where you have the Archer Asphotamen, and then you have the Berserker Tree. Someone that's really good for that fight is actually Parvati, because what you can do is you can bring Summer BB, bring Parvati, bring a Scotty, and essentially lock the cards in place so that your Parvati can always do Brave Chains. She'll refund her NP and essentially 3-turn the fight. She will turn it into a farming node. And that's just kind of like an example of the goofy stuff you can do as this third skill, which is why I think it's really sad that BB got this for Summer 3 and Ruler Artori got the card shuffling thing for Summer 4, because this is so much stronger. Like, this is such a easy thing to break and just kind of almost not actually engage with the bosses or like some of the harder fights in the way that you're meant to fight them, because you can just guarantee that your first 3 turns are going to be really, really overpowered, especially if you don't mind re-rolling the fight a little bit. If you just want to like hop into like, I don't know, a 1 to 5 AP boss fight, you can hop in and out of that all you want, because what else are you going to spend your AP on? Dailies? Heck no, no one's going to be doing that. And so you can just keep running in there till you get a really good first opening turn, lock it down, and then just go absolutely ham taro on the boss. It's what I think makes her really, really fun, but it's not only a fun gimmick, it's a really strong gimmick as well, because if you can get into a position where you're also looping your NP effectively every single turn, her own NP is not bad, because it's a guaranteed reduction of all enemies' NP by 1, and then a 10 to 50% chance to further reduce their NP gauge by 1, which is going to be very rare, but because you're already locking down their NPs, if you get the second one, essentially for the next 3 turns, the enemy's not going to be smacking you with any NPs, unless, I don't know, you break one of their break bars or something along those lines. And again, after her first skill gets buffed, her damage starts to look pretty good. Like, it's not bad damage for what she's able to do and for her gimmick. So should you go out and spend all of your Saint Quartz on Summer BB, I don't think right now it's like the most worth to go after her, because she will actually come back with her buff, and I think that's a better time to go after her, because she'll get her buff and her whole kit just works a lot better, right? Because you basically get those guaranteed crit turns if you want to kind of invest a little bit in like 20-30, or just finding a friend Merlin, right, that has a 20-30, or really any support of your choosing. It's just Merlin's probably going to be the most popular one, let's be honest. But then it also, you know, makes her a very good farmer, because her damage goes up a lot. Like, it goes up to a very pretty significant degree, and then on top of all of that, you still get the value of her being able to lock the cards in place for other people if you want to do weird niches with them. So I would recommend going for her then, especially if there's another servant you want to get. Now, Musashi should already be gone as of this video going up, but we also do still have like Archer Artoria, who's going to be coming out, and she's actually still a pretty decent servant. Her buff on JP wasn't exactly what she needed, but it is nice. Like, the battery plus the Pierce Evasion are definitely nice little convenient things that she has now that can make her like really good as like a weird wave clear for like 90++ nodes, especially if you've invested really hard into her, or just better in boss fights where there's dodges, which I don't know how many like different Saber bosses are running around with like dodge and everything, but you know, if we do run into that, she'll be really good. It'll give her a nice gimmick on that. I would recommend maybe going for some of these other banners, especially if there's some of the 4 stars you want on them. Maybe you saw Summer Okita's insane buff over on JP and you were like, okay, I really want to go get that servant. Maybe go hit up that banner, you know, stuff along those lines. But with that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know if you're going to be summoning on Summer BB, and if you do get her, let me know in the comments. Let me know if this video was a catalyst for you. But with that being said, I've got a vacation to return back to. But you guys have a good rest of your day, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.